gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only turbo coin, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go through the technical analysis. We are going to go through, the basics that we always cover. We will obviously also look at Bitcoin as it is very relevant. So let's start off with the basics first. We can see, ladies and gentlemen, that turbo is currently at 0.004. We can see that we are at rank 162 in the world. So objectively, I mean, that's pretty damn impressive when you really think about it, right? It really, really is. The volume is 35 million volume in the last 24 hours. And we can see that everything is looking fairly solid. When we go to the holders, right, we haven't checked this in a couple of days, but we have been on the rise consistently. And we can see, right, we are practically at all-time highs when it comes to holders, which is very, very good. This means people are buying and accumulating their positions while turbo is down. This means we have people, new people coming in to turbo, into the markets, looking at turbo and choosing turbo as, a coin to have part of their portfolio. So for me, it's very, very, very exciting. Now, there is something I did notice, ladies and gentlemen, which I do want to talk about. So pretty much when we go and look at something like this, we can see the line chart, it's very, very nice and simple, but it is also something that can show you the bigger picture. Now, if we go back to here, we can see, ladies and gentlemen, this lines up perfectly with all of our weekly candles, right? It does. So for me, what this is saying is turbo is preparing to burst out of the zone sooner than later. Now, you might think that like, hey, you just drew a line, but guys, trust me, the timings on these charts are immaculate. They really, really are. And usually, they come and surprise us. And we can see, right, there is going to be an expansion soon. We can see when we take the bottoms of the daily candles, right, we have this bottom over down here. We have this other bottom. And when we take it and we line it up, we can see we are getting close to touching this. And we can see that we are running out of room to squeeze. Now, where will we squeeze? To the upside or the downside? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know me. I believe that this pullback ultimately was to take out liquidity, right? It was to take this liquidity out that we had over here at 0.004. Not only that, it was to retest off a very, very key fundamental support zone. Boom, right over here, off a fundamental support zone. And we do have global liquidity net on our side. Now, yes, we did expect things to be a little better last week, but ultimately the picture is still the same when it comes to turbo and its pumps. Okay. So when we go and look, right, we can see that global liquidity lines up perfectly with us, and it has, right? So we take it from the bottom, it is 91 days out. When we take it from this bottom over here, it is also 91 days out, and it pretty much happened when the big sell candle happened. Now, here's the deal, right? Here is the interesting deal, because we were supposed to be kind of already going up based on global liquidity, but we can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are still bearish. Okay, but here's the trick: we don't always have to be pumping on the first point of the pump, right? We still have this point over here, this second one right in the middle, and we also have this third pump. So I still expect turbo to turn around, especially that we are running out of room and we have to make a choice. Are we going to go to the downside or are we going to go to the upside? And since my bias is very, very bullish with turbo and with Bitcoin itself, I do believe the move is coming in. I do believe there is a move coming to the upside very, very soon. And once we kind of get past this zone, right? Once we get past this zone, we really should fly high all the way up to 0.008, if not even up to 0.009 before we slow down. Reason being is, ladies and gentlemen, right? Turbo moves in bursts, And we can see that there's also a very, very large resistance here. However, right, that doesn't necessarily mean we're automatically going to stop at this price. We could go a little higher, cool off a little bit, pull back for a fundamental retest, just like we have now, right? Pull back for a fundamental retest, do something like this, maybe fake out, and then continue going up, right? We can see when we had this support over here, down here, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that we had a huge burst to the upside. Huge burst, right? So you have to think that this coin moves in a very, very calculated way. Most weeks are kind of just up and down, whatever volume. But when the volume really starts picking up, Turbo creates legacy. It does. We've seen it, right? We were literally the most pumped coin of April during that week. So we created history, ladies and gentlemen. It is not a coincidence for this coin to do this. I am really high on this token. I have accumulated many positions, and I do believe Turbo is going to do very, very well. I do believe a penny is just around the corner. Obviously that corner isn't like a day or two. It is a few short weeks away. But trust me, ladies and gentlemen, once things start really moving, it is going to be hard to slow down. We've seen momentum in the past with Turbo, right? When we've seen it go to mid to late September, all the way up until mid-October, we've seen how it can go from 0.004 roughly up until almost 1.5 cents just in a span of a month. So yes, I do believe this token is ready to move to the upside, considering that Bitcoin is holding its own. And ultimately, I am still bullish on Bitcoin. My sentiment for Bitcoin has not changed. If there is going to be downside price action, I believe it is more for a retest, more for minor gap fill-ins, right? As we do have multiple minor gaps. We have a minor gap at this hourly candle right over here, right? Right over here, there is a gap. So there being a pullback to the zone obviously is very likely. And then, pushing to the upside is what I expect with Bitcoin. But of course, we will monitor everything this week. We'll monitor things in general. And yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and just know there is a very, very, very big Turbo announcement just around the corner. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.